Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Sadie with Fork and Path, and we are food travel ambassadors here to share uncommon destinations with some fantastic food experiences with you. Also, some tips and tricks we've picked up along the way.
And speaking of tips, today we're sharing our tips for traveling around Stockholm.
Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell to get notified every time we have a new video. First, let's talk about getting to and from the airport.
Taxis are going to be the easiest method. They're everywhere and most of them have set fees, but make sure you ask before you get into the taxi because the rates vary depending on which one you're using.
The next option you have is taking the commuter rail to and from the airport. This is probably the cheapest way to go and is a little complicated, but not really complicated. All of the ticketing services are in English as well, so it's easy to get to and from, but it is going to also take a while because there's lots of stops along the way.
However, if you're just trying to go from Central Station to the airport or vice versa, you can use the Arlanda Express, which is an inexpensive set fee. You get a discount for doing two rather than one, so if you're a couple, it's super beneficial, and it gets you there really fast. We're talking like 20 minutes or less.
Going right off of that, our second tip is about getting around in Stockholm. The subway system is extremely easy to use. The kiosks are both in English and Swedish, and also if you have any questions, the information desk attendants are super helpful and friendly.
Another way is scooters. Scooters are literally everywhere in Stockholm. Everywhere. They're really inexpensive, really easy to use. The brand we saw most commonly around there was called Voi, which we'll link in our description below. Make sure you download the app before you leave Wi-Fi so you have it set to go, and also make sure you're always riding them in the designated bike lanes.
Taxis are everywhere and they're really easy to flag down. There also is Uber available, but honestly, we saw a lot more taxis than Ubers.
Otherwise, walk. It's an extremely walkable city, especially if you're staying in a place like Gamla Stan. There are designated pedestrian walkways everywhere, and they've made them really easy to get where you want to go. All right, number 3, let's talk about some sightseeing tips.
Most museums are closed on Monday, so make sure you plan accordingly, especially if you're only going to be there for a few days. On that note, if you are going to visit the Gamla Stan, which is the historic district, which you should absolutely visit, just note that it's going to be a little less zooey and crazy if you go during the week instead of the weekend. That being said, no matter what day you're there, everything does start picking up the minute shops open.
Right, so it's important to make sure you have a plan of attack. Make a route in advance so you can see what you want to see rather than wandering around, because if you do, you're going to just get sucked up in the crowd and it's going to take forever. With that, also keep a few Swedish krona on hand because most public toilets are paid. A lot of them do take credit card, but it's just a lot easier if you have a few coins.
Also, just so you know, if you greet somebody in Swedish, they're going to talk to you in Swedish. So if you don't speak Swedish, just greet people in English. Easier. And for our fourth tip, because it's us, we're of course talking about dining.
Right. So, like the sites, some restaurants are closed on Mondays and some on Sundays. Also, they can close during the day for fika. So just make sure you check in advance to see that the restaurant you want to go to is open. Also, there are an absolute ton of restaurants in Stockholm, and most of them are fantastic. So it can be overwhelming if you haven't done any research in advance. So make sure you kind of have an idea of where you might want to go.
Definitely. Also, it's good to note that most places do have menus in English if you don't speak Swedish, and so you don't have to use the Google Translate.
All right, number 5, where to stay. Location, location, location.
The Gamla Stan is definitely the best area to stay in if you're looking for the classical tourist and museum experience. We stayed just right outside of that area, and it was really nice to be able to get in there but not actually have to be in the craziness that is the Gamla Stan. Also, the area we were staying is apparently where the hipsters go.
Yeah, so that's fun. We did explore some of the areas outside of the city, and we have to say they're worth doing. Get away from the tourists a little bit. Check out some of the smaller areas like Södermalm. There's some really cool local boutiques and restaurants there, and they're definitely worth checking out.
Our sixth and final tip really applies if you're going in late summer or early fall. Just make sure you always have an umbrella or a raincoat on hand because it can rain unexpectedly. However, it is very warm during this time there, so you really don't have to worry about bundling up.
No need to layer.
Nope.
All right, that's all we have for you today. Make sure to incorporate these tips into your next trip to Stockholm and you won't regret it.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerted every time we have a new video. Also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Fork and Path, and don't forget to sign up for our newsletter.
Sláinte!